Hi, I'm Jesse at Strobepro.com, and today I'm going to be showing you the Godox SL300 version 3. This is a 300 watt COB LED light, and it's a mono head. And the mono head design just means that the control pack and stuff that you might find in other lights is all contained within the head. So that saves you on a bunch of cables connecting it together. So if you want to save some space and have an easy setup, then a mono head is definitely a light that you might want to consider. So let's take a closer look at what this light is all about. With the mono head design of this light, it's really nice because there's not a lot of pieces in the box. So if we pop our styrofoam out of here, we have the Godox manual, which I always say is basically useless, and it's so small actually it's very difficult to read. If you want to find the power specs or anything, just download it on our website so then you can zoom in. Otherwise it's, like I said, really tiny. And then inside here basically we're just going to have the light, the power cable, and the reflector. So if I take out the head right here, so this is our SL300. And then we have the included reflector here, and then just our power cable. So let's take a look at the actual light. So right away you might notice that this is a pretty big light, and that is true because we are packing 300 watts into this chip. So with an LED light, generally on a mono head here, the only components to this light, you have your COB chip on the front, you have a small skinny controller, control board on the inside, and then the rest of this thing is basically all heatsink designed to cool that chip down. With this one, we have the new Godox fan design on the bottom. So there's two yellow fans. Hopefully you can see those, and we'll turn those on in a minute so you can hear how quiet they are. But it's a new design, super quiet, especially in a light that's this price, really budget friendly. I really like that new fan design. So right on the front here, just before we do anything else, I just want to talk about this front cover here. This needs to come off before you ever think about turning this on. If you turn the light on with this plastic cover on, you are going to melt it really fast. So it comes off just like any other accessory. There's a little switch right on the top here. Pull that back, give it a quarter turn, and that's going to come off. And that's a Bowens mount cover. So just like any of the modifiers that we sell at Strobepro that are Bowens mount, they will fit directly to this light, which is really nice. And so you can see on the front here, we have the COB chip, which is this big circular part, and then just a cooling, which attaches and goes through the whole body here. One of the nice things about this light is the yoke mounting system. So that just means this big kind of U-shaped piece right here. And what that allows you to do when you mount it to a stand is you can rotate that almost in 360. The handle will catch it here, so there's probably never a time where you have to go right through. But just to show you, you have a ton of articulation, so you can put that wherever you want. And you can mount that vertically, or we can actually mount that horizontally if you do happen to mount in a studio ceiling or something like that. Underneath on the bottom here, we have our umbrella mount, which is really nice. On the back, we have our control board here, which is really straightforward, our power connection here. And basically what you're going to notice on this light is there's just cooling ports everywhere. So on the top here, all along the bottom, all along the top here, and then also on the front. So other than that, there's not much really to talk about. It's full metal construction. The yoke, the body, the front, everything, so it's going to be really durable for you as well. Let's install the reflector. This is done the same way as the protective cover. We have our 3-prong bayonet right here, which is our Bowens mount, and that again just lines up to these 3 receiver ports right here. So line them up, push it flush, and then give it a quarter turn to my left here, and that locks it in. To remove it, we just pull the lever on the top, go the other way, and pull straight out. So really easy to do. Now let me just talk about the umbrella port for a second here, and again that is on the back here. And I really don't like where Godox actually mounted this. It's kind of far back, so if you have a short shafted umbrella, it might be a little difficult to control the depth. But if you want to, right here, I would recommend taking that reflector off because the reflector is going to cause the umbrella shaft just to be not aligned properly here. So let's just grab this 33-inch Strobepro umbrella here, and all we're going to do is just slide the umbrella right through there, and once it's through, we can just tighten that down. Now, a word about umbrellas with LEDs is you can see that that is not exactly aligned in the center here. We have the LED aiming like almost 3/4 of the way up the umbrella, and that's going to create some uneven light there. So I would recommend softboxes for that reason. Unless you're quite far back from an umbrella, then it's not really going to matter. But if you are doing like a portrait shoot or something and you have this up close, you can notice that. The other thing that an LED can cause with umbrella is a little bit of a hot spot in the middle. So up to you which kind of modifier you want to use. An umbrella, really easy, just slide it in and out just like that on the bottom there. Now with a softbox, it's also really easy to set up, especially with our Strobepro Rapid Snap. This is the easiest softbox on the market to set up. And I just have our small 20 by 20 inch, which with a 300 LED is probably a little too small, but we have our full range of softboxes in this size. And to set that up, basically we just fold that up, snap it in place, and we're ready to go in literally 2 seconds. So this installs the exact same way. All you're doing, again, line up the 3 prongs there, give it a 1/4 turn, and you're locked in. Once that's locked in, you can release the screw and rotate that wherever you want, and then lock it back into place. On a modifier that's square, it doesn't really matter, but if you were doing like a strip box or just a rectangle box, then that's definitely something that you might want to take a look at. To fold it down, really easy again, just push that, it folds, and you're ready to go. We've brought out the fancy Sekonic C800 color meter, and we have our SL300 version 3 set up, and these are a meter apart from each other, just like Godox says, and we're going to determine whether the numbers Godox has in their spec sheet are accurate or not. So we're going to test the color temperature, the CRI, the TLCI, and the actual lux, or the power output of this light. Godox says to test it at 100% from a meter away. They don't say whether it's from the front of the reflector or the COB chip. We're assuming it's the COB chip because that would give you the most power. So I'm going to shut off all the lights here. We'll test this and see what the results are. These tests were all very positive, actually better than what Godox claimed. So you can rest assured that we have verified this with the C800, which is the most accurate way of metering these color temperatures and power outputs for this light. We are finally ready to take a look at the menus on the SL300 version 3. Just before we do that, I just wanted to mention about the fuse box here. So right here, you'll see a little symbol on there, and there's actually some fuses in there. You can take a flathead screwdriver, and just under there, basically, there's a little lip, and you're just gonna pry that back. That pops out the actual fuse tray here, and you have your active fuse, which is this one in the back, and then you actually have a spare right inside here. So if you ever happen to blow a fuse, maybe you overloaded a circuit or something, this is there for protection, and you can change that fuse out. So to put it back in, just make sure it's lined up there, and once it's flush, push it straight in, and you want to make sure that that snaps back in like that, and we are ready to plug it in. So pretty basic. Again, the nice thing about the mono head is you don't have a bunch of power bricks or controllers or anything. You just have this straight cable which goes right into the wall, and you are then good to go. we are ready to turn the light on finally, and we do that with the power switch over here. So right away, you're going to see that we go to 10%. Your light might be set to something else, and you can see that that is probably overexposed in the camera. I just want to show you quickly how to adjust the power. This is the dial on the right, and we can adjust in 1% increments. So it goes all the way up to, and way overexposed, 100% here, and then back down. We'll set this at like 5%, but you can see that it goes all the way down to off. So having that fine-tuning adjustability is really nice there. And again, we'll just set it for 5% for this demo. So one of the things everyone is always concerned about in an LED light is the fan noise. Now, Godox has upgraded those fans to those 2 yellow ones that I showed you before, but this is a 300 watt light, so it does have to have fan cooling. And this fan control is not variable, so it's either just on or it's off, which is actually good. We do have a silent mode, which I'll show you in a second, but I'm just going to be quiet here so you can hear these 2 fans. I'm 1 foot away from it, so closer than you would ever be, but it'll show you just how quiet this is. So they are audible, but I would not say this is going to affect your production in any way. In fact, I have the SL300 lighting this set right now, which is about 4 feet away, which I can hear more than this one a foot away. Now, if you are super noise sensitive, Godox has included a couple of silent modes in here for you, and that's controlled with this fan button, which is illuminated right here. So if I push this once, essentially it turns the fan off. And we can still adjust the power. You can see on my hand here, I still have that lit. And as I bring that up, actually, let me just show you before. I'm going to hold this button in just to show you the 2 different differences here. So we have 100% or we have 20%. So 20% basically caps the limit at 20% because you can't have the full power range when you don't have the fan cooling on. And then the 100% still gives you that full power scale, but it's just more precise. It's still only going to be 20% of the light, but it just gives you more fine tuning if you need to really accurately control on a low power setting. So let's just see here. So I'm going to put my hand behind it so you can see. And you can see that it is increasing, and we don't have the fan on because that's not lit here. But that's still capped at 20%. It just gives you really fine-tuned control here. Again, we're only controlling to a maximum 20% power, but we have the full scale to play with. So if you're using this light as a key light really close, maybe you're doing a YouTube setup or a product photography setup, this can be really useful just to give you maximum controllability. So let's contrast that. If we go back in here and I'm holding the fan button for 2 seconds here, that gets me into the control, and I'm just going to click it once more. That goes to the 20%, and I'm just going to hold that to get back out of it. So same thing here. I'm going to put my hand behind and I'm going to go up to 20. And you can see how quickly that's stepping at that 1%. So again, if you're doing that tabletop setup and you don't need a lot of light, even going those 1% increments could be too much for you. So it's going to cap out at 20%. You see it start flashing there. And that's just telling us, hey, I'm not going any higher. You've reached the maximum. So if you're not really that concerned about the power level controllability, I would just leave it on 20% just because it's faster, right? You don't have to scroll all the way up with the fan off on this 20% mode versus when I go in to the same thing, back into 100 here. And now I adjust it. It takes me a lot longer to scroll up. Even if you're on the app or a controller, adjusting through that could be annoying. So I'm just going to turn the fan actually back on, and then we get our whole 100% power range again. And I'll just dial that all the way back down, back to our 5% here, and we'll turn the fan back off. You'll notice this 5600K down there. That is just indicating our color temperature, which is daylight balanced at 5600 degrees Kelvin. And I should mention that we are using the SL300 daylight version here. So we're not going to have the ability to adjust that. If you need the ability to adjust color temperature, then you want to pick up the SL300 version 3 bicolor. And that's going to give you control on that Kelvin temperature setting right here. The actual light is going to look identical to this one. The only difference that you're going to actually notice is this dial here. So there'll be a little /cc there, which is for the color. And you'll just push that in and it will change the color temperature. For ours, this button, or this dial, I should say, does not function as a secondary button. Everything else is going to be the same. The only other thing you're going to get in the bicolor version would be a few more special effects. So you can do like some candle effects because you have that warmer color temperature ability. Speaking of special effects, we have the ability to enable those. That's with this FX button here, and we combine that with the dial. So if I push FX, we are going to go into special effects right away. And you can see we're on number 6 right now. We have the ability to switch to different ones. So 7, 8, we have actually 8 different ones. So 1, 2, 3, and they're all different. You can actually look at the different names of them, but you have like broken bulb, you have lightning simulation, there's watching TV. So if you're doing a scene on a video shoot and you need to enable these, it's really easy, just rotate them through. Now I should say, with the app controls, some of these you have the ability to speed up or to slow down, but you will need the app to enable that control. And I'll show you how to quickly connect to that in a few minutes. But to turn the special effects off, really easy, just push the special effects and now we're just back into our regular lighting mode. Now you will see a Bluetooth button here and a wireless button. We have a number of ways that we can control this light. So if we don't want to purchase anything additionally, then I would recommend using the Bluetooth. And that's going to connect to the Godox Light App. Don't confuse that with the Godox Flash app. They are different, the one for flash and LED. So you can download that to your smartphone from Google or Apple. And if I push this here, you're going to see on this particular light, it says E1ED. Now that's an unfortunate MAC address that they use for this because E1 usually means air. That's not what it means in this case. It's just giving you an indication when you're connecting to the app that this is the name of this light, and it'll pop up in the app and you can connect it. Now, if you're ever in a situation where you've screwed something up and you can't connect to the app for whatever reason, if you hold the Bluetooth button for about 3 seconds there, you'll see it start to blink and now it's resetting itself. So that's also useful if you have this connected to your phone, but say you take it to another set and you're using someone else's phone, you will need to reset that Bluetooth so it can connect to the other person's app on their phone. But otherwise, you can either enable that or disable it as needed. We'll just leave it on for now. Another option to control this light is with the optionally purchased RCA6 controller. If you want a physical controller, then this is the one that you want to pick up. But remember, you do have the free Godox app to control this off your smartphone, so you definitely don't need this. It's just for those of you that might have some other lights and you'd like the physical control here. But if we are going to use this, that is where this wireless comes in. We need to set a group and a channel. So if I push this once here, I'm going to have my group selected and I can adjust through them as necessary. I'll just leave that on A. If I push it again, that's my channel. So I've got 32 different channels. And if you ever were in a situation where you were getting interference on one of those 32 different channels, we do have like a sub channel, and that is controlled. If I hold the wireless button, we can go into ID. Now we just adjust with the opposite dial here, and we can set this from 1 to 99. Chances are you're never going to need to use this, and I would recommend leaving that off, because if you forget and you say have that on 2, and you're adjusting your channel and your group, you can't figure out why it's going to connect, that is usually the reason why. So just leave that off, set your group and channel, and then you're just going to do the same thing on the actual remote here, set your group and channel, and then I can adjust. If I can click it individually, or I can just hold it and it's going to adjust in bigger increments like that. So we'll turn that down and let's go back to 5%. So those are the connection methods. I would recommend using the Bluetooth because it's free and it's easy. You have a lot more control. You'll have special effects control and everything as well. If you're using the bi-colored version, you can set the color temperature in the app as well. Let me show you now just quickly how to connect to that app, but we will have a dedicated video to connecting to the Godox Light app. Let me show you quickly how to connect the Godox Light app. As I mentioned before, make sure you're downloading the Godox Light app, not the Flash app. So we are just going to add a test studio here, call it project 1, that's fine. Click done. We're going to go into this project here. And we need to add a light. So before we do that, let's just reset the Bluetooth on the light so we don't have any connection problems. And again, we do that by going to the Bluetooth button here, holding that down until it flashes. Once it's done flashing, we know that it's reset. And let's just get an idea of what this light was called for the app. So if I click the Bluetooth once, okay, we're called E1ED. So I'm going to hit the plus button down here and I am going to look for add fixtures. And you can see right away that it has found a light, an ES45 that's over in the showroom, and our SL300 here. So I'm just going to click the SL300, click confirm. Now the two the light and the controller are pairing together. Once it's done, you'll get the check mark. It says it's good. And we can close that down. Now what I can do is actually select the light itself, and I can use the slider here. I can bring the power up, I can bring it down as necessary. Again, if you're using the bi-colored version, you would have the ability to set the color temperature in there as well. For us, we can click special effects here. And you can see that we've turned it on and we have a number of different speeds. So we have level 1, 2, 3. This is why it only shows 4 here. Whereas on the physical buttons, we had 8 because 3 of them are dedicated to this TV setting here. So it's just different speeds of it. You can see as I scroll through them. So here's level 3. It's just going to go, actually this one's going slower than the level 1. And again, if I go to the lightning, I have 3 in there that I can flip through. So that's 6 between the first two. And then I have this bulb, which is 1. And then the TV, which is 1 as well. That's the reason I like the app, because you can see exactly which effect you're selecting rather than just picking a number. So it just makes it a lot easier. And again, we can adjust the power of those special effects as well. And I'm probably way overexposed, so we'll bring that way back down to like our 5% so we can get it in the actual exposure. So it's really straightforward to do that. We'll turn that off and go back. If you wanted to add another light, you can do the same thing that we just did. You can add groups as well. So chances are you probably don't need groups, but you do have that ability, and we can turn it on and off just with this toggle switch right here. So really simple, easy to add. You can mix these lights or other Godox lights that support Bluetooth right into the app here, so you can control them all right from the same smartphone. So there you have it. That's everything you need to know about the Godox SL300 version 3. If you're in the market for a 300-watt light, this is definitely going to be on your short list. If you need the added features of battery power, then you might want to go up to the no-LED LED series, which is the top-of-the-line Godox Professional series. But for most users, this has all the features that you're going to need. Full metal construction. It connects to the Godox Bluetooth app now in the version 3. You can dim this down from 0 to 100%, giving you really accurate control. You have special effects on here. You have a really nice yoke mount. And it'll work with any other Godox LED as well on the app, which is really nice. So if you're in the market again for that 300 watt light, this is definitely one that you're going to want to consider. So until next time, I'm Jesse at strobepro.com and enjoy creating.